It's a world of mystery. Do you really want to know? We should take a journey together to a special place, but not just any place. This is a historical place with many historical artifacts, mysterious stories, but ultimately a tale of the sun. This journey begins in a famous city called Rome, and as we enter Italy and start getting closer to the Vatican City, we finally arrive at St. Peter's Square, a monumental and very important location. I know your first question is, why is it such an important location? Well, first, I have to start by explaining some of the historical artifacts that are there, and I have to start at none other than the Obelisk, sitting in the center of St. Peter's Square. So I'm sure by now you're saying, hey Data, what's so darn important about this obelisk? Well, let me tell you, this is not just any obelisk. This is the obelisk. This is a large pink granite obelisk. It is at the center of the square. It was hewn or made from a single block, and it stands 25.31 meters high, and it's on a base of 8.25 meters wide. This obelisk comes from nowhere other than, you won't believe it, Heliopolis, Egypt. This obelisk was built by the pharaoh Menkaure in 1835 BC. And why was it built? It was built in honor of the sun. And then it was brought to Rome in 37 BC by Emperor Caligula and erected in the circus that he built. But the Pope in 1586, Sixtus V, had it moved to the center of St. Peter's Square, and this was quite an operation for that time. It required hundreds of men, lots of horses, and this is what it looked like. This was before all the colonnades were built. The obelisk was one of the first things there. And on a total side note, I've seen many Egyptian obelisks, and they all have carvings, engravings, hieroglyphics, and messages in them, except for this one in the center of St. Peter's Square. I wonder if there's anything written underneath there, because this is the only one that seems completely smooth. It's very interesting. Nonetheless, I digress. Moving on. And as we continue, it'll be important to note that we are looking east from the balcony of St. Peter's Basilica. East is a very important direction. This particular camera shot was pretty much on point. It is just a little bit off center, but you can tell that the obelisk is directly east from the viewing area on top of the balcony. Now that we have figured out which direction east is, west, we can also determine north and south. And now, is it starting to take shape? Can you kind of see it? It looks like a big clock. The obelisk in the middle with the shadow seems to be pointing at noon when this image was taken. And to say this was just a clock would be to miss the true genius of how this place was constructed and what they did way back then in the 1600s when the Pope started the project. Would it be shocking to also find out that it's not only just a clock where the visitors can tell the time of day, also a zodiac, but I will show you how. It is also a zodiac with the clock telling the time of the day and the zodiac telling the time of the year or the seasons. Now join me as we venture deeper into the mystery of the seasons and the sky clock. A lot of this is going to have to do with Easter. Here's what it looks like. You can see that there's a cross in there, and it has the obelisk as the center point. That's the sundial. And when the sun is over here, because that's facing east, this is north, south again. When the sun goes through the equator on Easter, it rises up to Cancer, and there's a shadow on that obelisk You see the shadow will go this way, and it'll send it to this particular statue on the colonnade. Perfect alignment on the colonnade. And this particular statue right here is lined up with that. So as it goes from summer, autumn, winter, spring, summer, autumn, winter, spring, it'll always cast a shadow in that cross. So what I'm showing you, these are the solstices, and this is the equilibrium. So when the Pope comes out here, he's looking east. The sun is rising right there. It's crossed over into the Lamb of God. The Lamb of God will be right here. And we'll go through the season, starting with Aries, Taurus, Gemini, and then it goes into Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces, and back to Aries, crossing over. So as you can see, the people that built this structure knew exactly what they were doing. They measured everything out precisely with the solar events of the solstices. It's actually quite amazing. It's a large clock and a calendar, both at the same time. And as amazing as this place is, I don't think we'd be finished unless we looked at the obelisk itself in Egypt and Heliopolis. What is the connection there? Let's go see if we can find anything interesting. And did we ever find something? Here's a picture of a sunset over the water. You can see the line that is tracing across the water. And interestingly enough, placing an obelisk in that line of light creates an obelisk pointing at the sun, pointing at Ra. I'll get back to this picture of the sun in a moment. Let's take a look at what obelisks are. Obelisks were revered monuments and deeply associated with the sun god Ra. Interestingly enough, Ra, and in today's modern language we use the word ray, sun ray, associated to Ra. These obelisks were placed near temples and were believed to represent the sun's rays descending from the sky, connecting heaven and earth. The obelisk's shape is a tall, tapering structure topped with a pyramid, and was likely inspired by the sun's pillar, a natural light phenomenon, which I just showed you. Obelisks were the center symbol of Ra, the sun god, and were often associated with his temple at Heliopolis. Now that's the important part, because the Vatican obelisk came from Heliopolis, the city of the sun, where they revered Ra. Sometimes these rays were considered petrified rays, and that could also be what the obelisk represents. But there's more. The ancients were very aware of the sun and its role in everyday life. Without the sun, no life exists. So they studied it and revered it and created symbols for it. Here, I'll show you one right now. Have you ever seen the Ankh? It is a perfect representation of what we're looking at. The sun on the horizon and the streak of light coming down. It represents life. In ancient Egyptian mythology, Horus and Set are represented as bitter rivals who contest the throne left by Osiris. Osiris is the lord of the underworld. The conflict is primarily focused on the succession of the throne, with Horus eventually emerging victorious and establishing himself as the rightful king. Now this goes back to the sun. Horus rises, the sun reaches the top at high noon, and then the sun sets. And the two brothers are the sunset and the sunrise, and they're always battling on which one will be high noon, and they're always battling. And the victorious one is, that's right, Horus. The sun also explains how the pharaohs thought of themselves as the rulers or direct descendants of the sun, the god. And you can see that in the beard. The beard represents the line across the water, and the pharaoh is the sun. So after all that, where does that leave us? Well, it tells me that the people of the past knew a great deal about the sun, its movements, and how it related to their daily lives. They had to know when the seasons were coming so they could plant crops, etc. Their lives depended on it. It's no wonder that they revered the sun as the Almighty, for it truly does and is the giver of life. If you made it this far into the video, I want to say thank you. Please be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe. It really helps the channel out. We'll see you in the next video. Have a great day. Bye-bye.